So my debate with Pastor Jeff Dollar is in 3 hours. It's now 3 p.m. And so my debate will be at 6 p.m. Central. And I'm trying to psych myself up for this particular debate. He's a pastor, so of course there's a different tone. He's not a heretic in the sense of uh, some of the other opponents that I've had in times past. So, and my guess is he's going to prepare to some extent. But regardless of that, I still need to approach things in a certain way. And what I want to do is, before I actually go through my debate playlist, I want to show you all some slides that I probably would never get to. Because I just want people that uh, I want to win the debate before the debate actually occurs. In other words, I want my audience to that watch me, that know about me, to see this video right here and say, okay, he didn't get to explain that in the debate, but that makes a lot of sense. Uh, Also, I want people to be able to come back to this video, if not the after show, after the debate, and say the same thing. So, uh, and honestly, I don't have my opening fully structured. So, here's what I've used in time past, okay? For my can a believer lose the salvation debate. I had an introduction, a chart to clarify the debate resolution, contrast the essential claims of free grace, three lines of evidence, the logical argument, atonement argument, and simplified argument. And I think I modified this slide because this is for the conditionalists. But here it is. Can an eternally saved person apostatize? Yes, Christians can fall away in the temporal realm, but not from the eternal realm. We are eternally preserved even if we don't temporally persevere. So you got the positional Christian is one who has believed the gospel at least once. They're eternally preserved. You have the experiential Christian is one who's currently believing the gospel, but could stop believing it and still eternally secure. This relates to the issue of temporal perseverance or apostasy or their options. Then you got the ultimate Christian. This is the one who has a glorified body when no one dwells in sin, who perfectly represents Christ in the kingdom, eternally preserved. And so that one moment guarantees the glorified body. Sanctification in the walk is the dotted line, but you see that it's that one moment of faith with that arching line that guarantees a glorified body. So let's play red light, green light, and yellow light. Okay? Free grace says this: one moment of faith is sufficient to get a glorified body. The glorified body does not depend on how well one walked, persuasion. So you could either hold to a persuasion, a sensus, notia, fiducia view, and still argue for one moment of faith. I would say it's a cognitive act. Um, then you got the non-neonomian Calvinists, and I hope that's what Jeff Dollar is. He's going to say one moment of faith is sufficient to get a glorified body, but saving faith results in certain things in one's walk. The glorified body does not depend on how well one walked, yet one will persevere and not apostatize, and they would typically hold to a sensus, notia, or fiducia. Then you have the neonomian, and this is the Calvinists that I really don't care for, okay? Because I think their system is damaging. And they say, and I hope Jeff Dollar is not one of these, one moment of faith justifies these results as also the condition for final justification. So the results are also the condition where it will be determined whether one is saved or not. A sensus, notia, and fiducia. Same idea there. And then you got the conditionalists. One moment of faith justifies, but one must persevere and not apostatize to get a glorified body. A sensus, notia, and fiducia. Well, I'm actually feeling kind of better. I may want to change my structure, my opening to using this. So, can a believer lose his salvation? No. A positional Christian cannot lose his salvation. That's a way to better phrase it, right? That's what I had said before. But this thing about if one moment of positional faith is sufficient, number two, to get a guaranteed glorified body, nothing else is experientially necessary, number three. Okay? Now, I'm debating a Calvinist, and here's their 5 points. Currently, I hold to liable depravity, meaning you're responsible for your own sin. Occupational election, that it's related to service. Tiered atonement means that nobody goes to hell because of personal sin, basically. Uh, Undeserved grace and security of the saints. Lotus is the acronym. Yeah, I think I will actually lead off with like that. I think that is a good, a better structure. But let me just show you what I have now. So remember, guys, I always pull from when I'm debating. I have a slides that are for conditionalists, and I got slides for those that hold to eternal security but are not free grace, their lordship, right? So I'll be pulling from the red deck on this debate. So what we're debating, the thesis: can an eternally saved believer apostatize and be saved? The first part in red of this thesis shows we both agree on eternal security. The second part is what we're debating. I believe that eternally saved person can apostatize and they are still eternally saved. So I kind of like that too, and I may mix it with that other one that I did. And so here's the different colors to remind people of all the different people that I mainly debated. As you see, they've been mostly conditionalists. Uh, and the red are the Calvinistic lordship leaning, and then the yellow are other debates. But the one that this one's going to be most similar to, because it concerns apostasy, is Kelly Powers' debate, which he just did a lot of strong arm and didn't actually debate it. Sky Out, I did probably one of the best intensive openings concerning the Greek and all of that stuff, even though Sky Out himself is a total joke, maybe even a troll. But I still did that debate on it on Praise I Am's channel. And then here we are with Jeff Dollar, number 35. Did I say 35? Ah, see, I don't even got my counting right. This is debate number 35. Who was 34? Dr. Joe's Antonio's. Okay. So this is my 35th debate. Wow, I lost track. So here's the three-legged stool. Free eternal security is true. Free grace is biblical. One moment of belief. This one moment here, I'm going to integrate it into the apostasy thing as I'm speaking. I think that might be the best approach. So we both agree that eternal security is true. The difference is, I believe free grace is a biblical. The thing about it is based on John 3:16. One moment of belief is all that's sufficient. Therefore, nothing else is necessary. And so, what that means is that one can apostatize and they're still eternally secure because of that one moment of belief. Also, at that one moment of belief, that's whenever you identify with Christ's one death. So that's where the atonement view comes in. And then the guaranteed body that you'll be resurrected to, the basis is because you died with him. And so therefore you will live with him. Okay, we'll go into those passages. And I got the stool softener for anyone that has trouble with this three-legged stool. The whole purpose for the three-legged stool is to simplify the argument. Here's another form of that one slide, but I still need to make modifications to it. There's this one, and like I said, I got to change some wording to adapt it to this. Here's a reminder about position, experience, and ultimate, that there's two categories. That everyone's guaranteed a glorified body, but not all will rule and reign. So you can either fulfill your purpose or not. But regardless of that one moment of belief, you are now forever in the believed once class. Okay? Which I need to include the never believed bunny and the once believed cat in this presentation. I just realized that. Here's John 3:16 contrasted in imagery right here. This is all showing the comparison is to one moment of lifting up the serpent in the wilderness is compared to one moment of belief. Also, 3:18 shows you these two classes of the never believed and the once believed. This would be a good place for me to insert the bunny thing. So these are two positions. We both agree. The issue is that I think Jeff Dollar would argue that you must be in the class of those that continuously believe. Therefore, if you apostatize, that shows you never believed. The basis of condemnation is that you never believed. It's not whether you apostatize. Okay. Now, John 5:24 is another passage we agree on. We pass from death to life. It's like a faith is the ship that takes you through the wormhole. And then when you go through the wormhole, there's a transformation. And now you have the ability to go live in your previous land or life, but you're always forever a member of that space station. One moment of belief passed you into a new realm and you're eternally secure. Okay? Now you have a choice whether you're going to live in your old life or you're going to represent your new life. But regardless of that, you're forever a citizen of the space station. Our citizenship is of heaven. So here's all that described. Faith is the instrument that places you into a new realm. Faith is a rocket ship that transfers you into a new realm. The wormhole causes a molecular transformation. If the rocket ship blows up, it does not reverse that you are in a new realm. You are now a citizenship of a heavenly space station. You can choose to live in harmony with that citizenship, or you can choose to return to the temporal realm in a fallen world. You return to the temporal realm does not reverse your citizenship in eternal realm based on that molecular transformation. I think I'm going to put this slide before the pictures. Okay. So here we are going into the detail of it. Now, y'all might remember this from the 90s, this pizza commercial for Tombstone. The question is, what do you want on your tombstone? This is to remind us that we died with Christ. Okay. Because in Romans 6, it says, how shall we who died to sin still live in it? Then it uses the raised language, and then it talks about the guarantee of the resurrection. But then he says in 11 that he will give life to your mortal bodies. So dying guarantees that he will give life to your mortal bodies, okay? Now here's a comparison with 2 Timothy 2:10 through 13 as it relates to Romans 6 and Romans 8. Focusing on the glory imagery, you can see right here that this identifies what death means in 2 Timothy 2:11. For if we died with him, and then 6:7 says, for he who has died is freed from sin. Now, if we died with Christ, we believe we shall also live with him. Same exact language. But if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, who raised Christ Jesus from the dead, will also give life to your mortal bodies. Okay? There's the chart to remind us about that. Concerning the reward aspect, keep this in mind as we're looking at this passage. Now, I'm debating a Calvinist, so they're going to probably get hung up on chosen and salvation. In my view, chosen is for service. So Paul's saying, for this reason I endure all things for the sake of those who are chosen for service, so that they may obtain the salvation. In other words, this salvation here is Messianic kingdom rule, which is in Christ Jesus, and with it eternal glory. There's the rewards and all of that. Our treasure is in heaven. Our treasure is not heaven. That's the kind of idea. Um, it's a trustworthy statement. For if we die with him, we will also live with him. If we endure, we also reign with him. So you see, the if we died with him is the condition for living with him. Okay, and then the middle category of reigning or denying relates to the Messianic kingdom rule. But regardless of that, God is faithful to his promise to deliver us there because we die with him. Therefore, we will live with them, and also to hold us accountable. I've used this example before. You can compare it this way. If I tell you if you board my vessel that you will reach your destination, that's a promise that's guaranteed. But I also tell you I'll hold you accountable for how you conduct yourself on my ship. Okay? That's essentially what I see. And here's that passage mapped out on the chart. Now, also Romans 8:17 says, if children, heirs also, heirs of God and fellow heirs with Christ. But fellow heirs with Christ is modified with this statement, if indeed we suffer with him, so that we also may be glorified with him. So not everybody is an heir with Christ in this view. Everyone inherits God and salvation, but not everyone is an inheritor with Christ. Only those who are willing to suffer. Okay, so here's the variables that you could run through from that passage, and this is how I view it. That one moment of belief identified you as one death, therefore you're positionally inheritors, your children. In your experience, you must suffer with him, and you will therefore get resurrected. Okay, but here's what the thing is: that passage is focusing on fellow heirs and glorified with. Okay, so related, so I put this slide here to remind me to relate my argument to apostasy. So it's logical because if one moment is sufficient, one moment of faith is sufficient, then you don't need to prevent yourself from apostatizing in order to get a glorified body. Now there's a workaround for that, but it's not up to me to bring that workaround up. You know, contextually, this aligns with John 3:14 and 16. The condition identifying with his death by one moment of belief has been met. Therefore, we will be resurrected with him. Now, what some people do, it seems like, is that when they come to the conditional clauses of 2 Timothy 2, They want to treat them like open systems rather than closed systems. And what I mean by that is I believe each one of those conditional clauses has internally consistent logic. In other words, the if, the then, that's it. Okay? Then it changes subject and then it gives another if and then, but it doesn't say, it isn't reading into the previous if. Okay? So here's that breakdown for that. Each conditional clause has internally consistent logic. This means the condition is the if statement for the then statement. 2 Timothy 2:11, for if we die with him, we will also live with them. This is an example of a grammatical condition. There are other ways to have a condition semantically or contextually. Grammar often determines doctrine. There are three additional conditional statements that follow. If we endure, he will reign with us. If we deny him, he will deny us. So my point is, each conditional clause has an internally consistent logic. So you can see the distinctions here. All these conditional clauses saying the exact same thing. And if they are, then why do you have shifts in tenses here? You got aorist, you got future tense, you got present tense, you got future, present, and present twice here. Why is there a shift in tense going on here? That needs to be accounted for in any explanation that somebody gives. The shift from the aorist to the present tense is significant here. What does died with him mean in 2:11? Romans 6 helps answer. Romans 6:1, what shall we say then? Are we continuing to sin so the grace may increase? So this is the passage, right? We who died to sin, shall we live in it? We've been baptized into his death. We've been buried with him through his baptism. We become united within the likeness of his death. Romans 6, that our old self was crucified with him. Okay, that it may be done away with. Romans 6:7, for he who has died is freed from sin. If we died with Christ, watch this, we believe that we shall also live with him. That's the green. And then you got all these other issues. And then it says the experiential category, consider yourself to be dead to sin. Being dead and consider oneself as dead are two different things. Going back to our passage, for if we died with him, we will also live with them. Okay? So there's the promise of giving life to our mortal bodies. And therefore it says the only condition for getting a glorified body is identifying with Christ once. This is not a if A, then B, except C situation. So 2:11 talks about position, death, and live, ultimate. 2:12 focuses on the experience and the ultimate rank. 2 Timothy 2:12, whoa, that's not supposed to be there. 2 Timothy 2:12, if we endure, we also reign with him. That does not support the perseverance will necessarily occur. It allows for the possibility of apostasy. We do not need to prove Christian apostates are in the Bible. It's still possible. It goes back to sufficient, not necessary condition. So why do people think endurance is a required result? Here's the thing. It's going to get down to probably the issue of why do people think it's a required result. But this is from a site, marriage.com, 10 most common types of cheating. You have all these different types of cheating that can occur in a relationship. But here's the point. It's all cheating. And the thing is that, and it would all apostasy, faith, unbelief, Satanism, whether you're talking in Hebrews, which is post-cross, going back to Judaism, it's all idolatry. 1 John says, flee from idolatry. See, the thing is that there's the God world and the non-God world. And I learned that from a Calvinist. So really, it's just God versus Satan. And all the other little flavors and presentations they have, it's all in the same category, okay? It's all experiential if you're talking about a believer. So when you're talking about past like the golden calf, Judaism post-cross, this has great implications. And what you could technically argue is that idolatry is ideology. So you could argue that false doctrine, religious denomination, wrong hermeneutic, all of these issues can become something. But what it is that we want to try to say, oh, well, you can do this, but you can't do that. Why? It's all cheating. Okay? From God's standpoint, it's all cheating. It's all apostasy from God's standpoint in that way. So that brings us to where we're at right now. And so based on this upload, I'll go back through and I'll make some changes and we'll see what we're doing. So, all right, guys, thank y'all. See you in a little bit. God bless.